In part 15, we're going to reassemble the bottle stack assembly. There are a ton of parts that go into this component, so I am going to do my best to tell you what components are what. Stay tuned to the end of the video. I have some very important news about this series. So before we go on, if you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. With that being said, let's dig in. Man, this is a lot of parts, but they're all painted. Most of them are all restored, and this thing's ready to be put back together. So, I guess we'll just go ahead and get started on this long process of putting her back together. The first thing we are going to do is start with the main bottle stack assembly. The first part to go in is the Ratchet link assembly. As you can see, the bottle gate now connects and pivots on the Ratchet link assembly. Next, the guard link is installed. This is connected and held by one of the large rivets, then retained by a new speed nut. Next is the very large gate pin. This just slides right through both ends of the bottle gate, so it can be aligned with the stack and the other gates. Now that those are in, they are all connected in the back to the ratchet drive assembly. This thing was an absolute pain to deal with. There might have been an easier way to install it, but this is the easiest way I could find. Now two small rivets hold the ratchet drive to the ratchet linkage and the guard link. The assembly will just kind of like dangle while I get the rest of them in. The same process as before is just repeated for the 7 other assemblies. Now that all of them are in, I'm going to move the bottle stack on its side. I had realized after I had moved it on its side, there is a small hole where the assembly connects to the bottle stack. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the ratchet base assembly. Having my owner's manual next to me for reference came in handy for sure. The first part to go in is the ratchet bar. There happened to be a small channel that it had to slide in. Next, the ratchet lock assembly has to run specifically in the channel above the bar, but it has to connect to the bar by the divot sticking out. Next to go in is the ratchet plates. So it actually turns out that numbering them was a waste of time. The only one that matters is the top ratchet plate that has this small part hanging off of it for the spring. Next is the spring I'm referring to. The last part to the ratchet base assembly is the ratchet lock spring. This connects at the ratchet lock assembly and the actual ratchet base assembly. Basically, it's just a return spring to make sure it returns to the rest position. Next, we are going to install the ratchet base assembly to the bottle stack assembly. After tinkering with it for a while, I managed to get all the ratchet drives to line up and go in evenly. Next, I have to install the retaining screws and nuts so the ratchet base assembly and the bottle stack assemblies will be tight and secure together. Now that they are secured together, I can install all of the ratchet link springs. One end of the spring attaches to the bottle stack and the other side attaches to the hole on the ratchet link. Hey! Now that the rest of the stack is assembled, it's time for the electrical components in the smaller parts. First up is the brand new and shiny solenoid. After installing these horrid screws, it's time for the cotter pin that connects to the solenoid and to the ratchet lock release. After installing the new cotter pin, it's time for the ratchet dog brackets, the ratchet dog, and the ratchet dog spring. This is one of the most tedious parts to reinstall on the whole assembly. But after a ton of tinkering, I got it to stay. Installed the retaining screws and nuts next. Everything is moving as it should be. Now that everything is installed correctly, it's time for the micro switch and wiring harness. Unfortunately, the company I bought a replacement terminal cover from didn't send it to me. Then realizing that the original wouldn't even fit, I just decided to cover it in some good old electrical tape. It's okay because no one will see it anyway, well except for me and all of you guys on YouTube. Anyways, next to hook up is the solenoid. With all of it hooked up and all the parts installed, the last piece of the puzzle is the large ratchet baffle that covers the electrical components. With that installed, the bottle stack assembly is done. I couldn't be any more proud of myself and with the way this thing turned out. So with that being said, that's it for part 15. Now I did mention at the beginning of the video I had an important message about this series. Unfortunately, I am sad to say this will be the last video in this series for a while. There are two big reasons why. First being my chrome parts still haven't been chromed, so I can't put the coin bezel back together yet. The second being my friend Cameron was called out of state for work. He is the one who will be doing all the bodywork and painting. Everything else is done besides the painting at this time. This doesn't mean I'm done with videos though. I have a ton of projects that I want to get to. So fortunately, I'll have tons of videos for you guys while we wait on things for the Coke machine. So please subscribe if you haven't already and stay up to date on my adventures with my projects. And as always, thanks for watching.